Hello everybody, welcome back to ESPN's Football Forecast with myself, James Allcott, and joining me we've got Tony and Nubaid to talk about the big game this weekend, which is Manchester United versus Arsenal. Now, if we look at the stats, a picture can be painted. Let's touch on the Monday game for Man United, which I think we need to reflect on a little bit before we get into the starting lineups and Arsenal obviously going for the title and the woes of Man United. But it was a 4-0 defeat to Palace. They conceded 1.75 XG. They created 0.35 XG, conceded 18 shots, only had 7 of their own. Casemiro is playing centre-back in this one, and 7 out of his 16 ground duels weren't won. Oh, sorry, 7 of them were won, which is not good, guys. But lots of injuries are within all of this, and there's so much swirling around this when it comes to Erik ten Hag. The current malaise, which that's a word I don't use often. How much are you putting that down to Erik ten Hag, and how much are you putting down to injuries before you even get into this game? Because injuries plays a part in the game itself as well.
I would say it's a bit of both, because anyone in this situation, everyone knows Man United's injuries. The fact that Casemiro is playing centre-back shows that we're in an injury crisis. However, a lot of it is down to Ten Hag, because if this was just a normal injury crisis, everyone would just blame this on injuries and we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the way Ten Hag is trying to play and the way he's not changing the way he's trying to play, that's on him. We saw he tried to play this at the start of last season against Brighton and Brentford, but changed it straight away, and the Man United is meant to go on the season that they had. But ever since 2024, he's not changed it. I don't know why this is. I feel like maybe Ineos have come in and said, this is the way you want, tell us how you want to play it and stick to it. The injuries will happen and it will come, and then you'll probably get a better team. Maybe that's the only thing I can think of. But right now he's not changing it, so that's down to him. The way we play and the way we are so open in midfield, it's down to him. I'm
going to look ignorant here. How are they playing? What's the plan? Because I should know that. I really should know that. I don't know how they play.
Empty the midfield.
Yeah.
And he also, like you just said there, Ten Hag's also said he deliberately empties the midfield.
Yes, I've seen that.
And I don't know how many times he's got to do that and go, it's not working. Like Glasner for Palace started with 2 10s because he was fully aware that there's going to be no one in midfield. That is the only thing I can go, that's how they play. That's not a good way to play. But
emptying the midfield because it's about getting those overloads higher up the pitch when you're attacking. Is that the idea behind that? Because just the sentence of emptying the midfield feels very odd to I think a lot of football fans. But the game moves on time and again. So there must be sort of method behind what feels like madness.
Yeah, there is. And I feel like, especially in his press conferences, he goes back to the Arsenal game against the Emirates, where that's how he wanted to try and play, playing out from the back, emptying the midfield, trying to get the overload in the press. But unfortunately, Man United don't have the players for it. So it looks like he's exposing these players. We're trying to play with 2 high 8s with, at the time, it's Kobbie Mainoo and Bruno Fernandes, and Casemiro, when he plays in midfield, is trying to 6. But because you don't have players that, 1, can keep possession, 2, players that don't really know how to press as a team, your basic method and the basic way you're trying to play just looks terrible. And then people just run through that midfield. We saw it at the first game of the season against Wolves, how open that midfield was, and he hasn't changed it. And now that he's playing with 2 high 8s, because that's the reason he signed Mason Mount, because that's how he wanted to play. So
I remember you on this show.
Exactly.
You're not a Mason Mount fan, are you? You weren't happy with that transfer.
Because I knew this was going to happen. I knew exactly what was going to happen, and people laughed at me when I wrote off the season in July, but I've been saying that's how he wants to play, but he just doesn't have the personnel for it. I get what he's trying to do, because we've seen some of it with Ajax. It's not the exact same, but it's a bit different. But what he's trying to do, he doesn't have the personnel for it. Instead of you to change that and just try work it out and maybe do it next season, he's standing on business in a sense and wants to do it. So that's on him, and if he loses his job for it, then I'm not going to be surprised.
I was watching a few of the old Ajax clips, and I think he potentially was hoping that Casemiro was still very dominant in duel winning, which he's not. Physically just has declined, or certainly isn't up to the level of the Premier League. He used to have Edson Alvarez, so if you go and watch West Ham this season, he's a duel winner. So if you empty the midfield and leave 1 holding midfielder, which is his plan, and play with 2 high 8s, that works if you've got a midfielder who can sweep and win duels and keep playing. Casemiro's not that guy. Kobbie Mainoo's not that guy. Eriksen's not that guy. Who else? Sofiane Amrabat's not. You basically don't have that one player in midfield, and then the rest of it just goes to pot.
Yeah, I just find it very difficult for anyone to truly be that guy. Like, you need someone with you in that midfield, and it does seem to be the same problem each week. And I watched that Palace game. It was so easy for Crystal Palace. It was so easy, and I felt a little bit sorry for Casemiro, because I think I think it's quite easy to see what he did, which was, bizarre in terms of, looked like an AI video when he was trying to like make the challenge for the Elise goal. It was like you've sort of said into ChatGPT, go, others are available, go and get a video of Casemiro making a slide tackle, and it was just like this weird little thing. But he's not a centre back, and he's played for Real Madrid where he's had people who've been press proof and have allowed them to own the ball, Kroos and Modric. I think the thought that like he shouldn't be playing like top level football anymore. Do you subscribe to that?
No, I think that's too far.
That was too far.
Because I think there's one thing. Casemiro is physically struggling. He is actually physically struggling because even when he plays in midfield, midfielders bypass him effortlessly. But also there is the wider picture of this, who actually looks good in this team. Not all of these guys are bad footballers.
Yeah.
And essentially, if you don't have a system that can help you win games, and we're going to talk about Arsenal, but the Rice, Saliba, Gabriel trio makes that defence so strong and powerful that now people are going, it doesn't matter who play at left back because we've got this trio at the back. At the moment for United, like whoever you put in any position is just left out there on their own and then essentially looks as bad as they have been.
Yeah, and I think the fight with Casemiro, we're going to talk about Toni Kroos at some point in the videos that we're going to do today. His legs aren't better than Casemiro's. Yes, he looks unbelievable because he's got the right players around him who are doing what's necessary to allow the whole team to look good. That's what I keep coming back to. Is like you've got to have a vision. I get that, but you've also got to get over the line sometimes. And there's not been performances. And we've got the last 3 games. You've got Arsenal, Newcastle, and Brighton. There could be 0 points from that, right? Especially with the problems that you've got at centre back. And we're starting off with the game against Arsenal, who've not got a good record against Man United, have they? But is it a case of how many more than anything else? Because we've done this several times where we've gone, there's no way this isn't a victory for X. And this feels like one of those. But Man United have done it before, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, Arsenal don't have a good
record. There's that smile.
Yeah. Well, this is the only thing. Arsenal do not have a good record against Man United. They've only won 1 in their last 16, which was Aubameyang back in lockdown. And Old Trafford juice. I like to call it Old Trafford juice. We saw it with Liverpool this season. Liverpool were a much better team in the FA Cup and both the Premier League as well, but they didn't win.
Yeah.
And what was that down to? It wasn't down to Man United playing well. It was down to Liverpool not taking their chances and a bit of Old Trafford juice. And believe it or not, we still have that. So I can really see Man United getting something out of this. I'm not going to say win because we've not shown anything that we can beat a good team like Arsenal. But Marcus Rashford is back in training. Arsenal will be pressing on with that high line. City would have played before, so there'll be that pressure to, if City win, there'll be that pressure to try and win and get those points, and they have to take the game to United. United can sit back, and one thing United have been good post Fergie is counter-attacking. If Marcus Rashford's fit, Marcus Rashford against Ben White, that looks like a bit of cash money to me. So maybe I can see that as a draw plus Old Trafford juice, mate. I don't see that we're going to win, but that's the only way I can see
I'll chuck one in it. What about Super Sunday Spotlight? Is that part of this as well when it comes to Man United? You know, as woeful as they've been, I think they are 5th when it comes to XG against this season, despite being where they are in the league this year, 8th somehow.
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely horrible. Let's not get it twisted. They've conceded 55 goals and only scored 52. They can't defend and they can't score, but the Super Sunday thing has something about it. You know me, I love psychology.
It's a noise, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Manchester United go into this game going, we've been pretty much irrelevant this season, but we did it to Liverpool. Remember what we did to Liverpool? We ruined their season. And if we can't, and I think back to Chelsea actually, Chelsea went through a phase where they weren't this powerful, dominant team, but they'd ruin everyone else's party. United have kind of arrived into that space at the moment where, like, actually, if you've got nothing to go for, why don't we just go and ruin Arsenal's chances? Because we've hated them for the longest time. The only thing I look at, I've just got this in front of me. Arsenal created the 3rd most XG this season with 71.7. Meanwhile, United have conceded 63.6 XG against. How, like...
And Arsenal's XG against is 26.8.
Yeah.
Just to give that context there.
It's
chalk and cheese. Triple.
Yeah, and I do just think, when I'm thinking about that Liverpool game, I think that's the only example you can sort of look at. Yeah. But random things happen, like unquantifiable things happen.
Is it then becomes like a good, another good test, mini test, and they've come through quite a few this year, of Arsenal being able to deal with the big moments, which I think they've done it in a different way, a lot of it being about set pieces, being efficient and things like that. But I think in a game like this, when they should be so dominant, especially in midfield, they should be able to, one, maybe get themselves a clean sheet, but secondly, just allow it to be a bit routine, a 1-0 or 2-0, something like that.
Yeah, 100%. I think Arsenal should win this game.
Yeah.
They should. If you play this game 10 times, there might be 2 in which Man United do something, but I think 8 out of 10 times Arsenal should win this game. The only way Arsenal do not get something out of this game is if they beat themselves. I take it back to the Villa game where Liverpool lost earlier, and Declan Rice said that we beat ourselves, we put the pressure on ourselves. That is the only way I think Arsenal will kind of mess up, because you can see the way they've been playing football recently, and the fact that they've now done this midfield of Thomas Partey, Rice playing a more attacking role, against Bournemouth as well. He got a goal and assists, and he got 3 key passes as well. That will prove massive at Old Trafford, because one, Old Trafford is a big pitch. That midfield of Odegaard, Rice and Partey are going to enjoy it at Old Trafford. So I really think if they play their normal game, they should win.
Okay, predictions. What do you think, Nubaid?
I've been sat here so many times when United have played Liverpool and got it wrong. We've done this so many times where we've gone one-sided, but I just cannot see how Arsenal don't win. So I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
I think Arteta will have a very clear plan. I think it won't be full throttle. I think it'll be businesslike, and I think they'll win. I think maybe United sneak a goal and it's 3-1, but my initial thought was 2-0. I think it'll just be. I think they'll do the job, which I think is where we've seen that progress from Arsenal this year. What do you think, Tony?
Being a United fan, I'm gonna go for Old Trafford juice one more. I say 1-1 United. Rashford on the score sheet.